Hello and welcome to the Shack News Chattycast, the podcast that's less late than last week. I'm your host, Steve Watts. With me this week, Daniel Perez
I thought it was 2 o'clock.
and Stephen Wong.
I'm sure we're on time in some time zone.
Yeah, the time zone that's 24 minutes behind the East Coast. Uh,
I think Bermuda's like that.
yeah, like right in the middle there. So as I mentioned, this is the Chattycast. Here's how it works. Every week, Ozzy Mejia starts up a thread in the Shack News Chatty, asks for some topic suggestions, and then we chat about them. So Chattycast. This week we've got three topics, three rather long topics. People wrote like essays this week for some reason. But first we're going to get into our What Are You Playing segment. Before we do any of that, if you didn't realize, if you're listening to this as a podcast, we record these things live now. So you can go to the Shack News page and find a link for our video feed. It starts around 2 o'clock. It'll start closer to 2. It's going to start closer and closer to 2 o'clock every week. That's my theory.
We're leveling up.
Yeah, we're level grinding towards starting on time. We record around 2 o'clock. We record for about an hour. So come and check us out and leave comments and such, and we will respond in real time.
We're working toward the punctuality skill. We're still.
I've been
there.
putting all my points into voice and not punctuality. So. That's why. Anyway, so first we're going to go into what we've been playing. I feel like we've all kind of been playing at least a little bit of the same thing. And by we all, I mean humanity. Everyone on Earth has been playing The Witcher 3 this week. Who here? Let me ask it. Start the conversation this way. Who here has played the most Witcher 3? Let's compare. Because I know I'm going to lose this competition.
Josh played the most Witcher 3.
Well, yes, but who here? Who in this room? Josh has played like 40 hours.
I'd say I'm
taking some well-deserved rest.
I'd say I'm at around 2 to 4 hours in. I barely I think the tutorial is 1 hour, so I just did 2 missions.
What I've played so far. That's why I said I'm going to lose this, because I've basically played the tutorial and it was kind of late at night, so I was getting sleepy. I got to the first game of Gwent and I'm just hazily putting cards on the table. I'm I don't really understand what any of this means.
You're thinking it's Hearthstone for a second. You get your phone out. What? Oh no, it's a different game.
Yeah. I was pretty excited when I heard
this card looks pretty. Just throw it down.
I was this number seems bigger than this number. I guess I don't know. But yeah, that's about where I got to. It was the first game of Gwent, which is around the first tutorial area, but it's about an hour tutorial.
I don't have a timer on my game, but I've been playing it for the past week, putting in 4, maybe 6 hours a day. So.
Well, you've also been writing our diaries. Josh has been doing the review, so he's played a ton.
I was gonna say, how are you doing our diaries?
So he's played quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I reached the part where you have to fight the aborted child.
Oh yeah, I read your diary about that. That seems real dark.
That's in the beginning of the game.
It's beginning.
Maybe 8-ish hours in or so. Yeah.
But yeah.
So the combat in this, I've heard people call it simplified. I've heard people call it this and that. It feels to me very naturally just it's kind of just action game combat at this point, right? It's not, it may not be as sort of technical as Witcher 2. When I played Witcher 2, I feel like it was a little more stiff. It seems like they made it smoother by taking some lessons from other just action games. How do you feel about that as it relates to this being an RPG? Would you rather it be a little more tactical, or are you okay with it basically being like Batman combat but with Witchers?
I don't think it's like Batman combat. I think Batman combat's easier.
Well, yeah. I mean, Batman, that's a bad comparison.
I'm not
Batman
even good at it.
Ultra smooth.
I'm terrible at Witcher combat, and I think I'm in the minority. But because
what difficulty are you playing on? I've heard a lot of people say.
I'm playing on normal difficulty.
I've heard a lot of people say normal is too easy, and then they say oh, go. If you have experience with.
Technically, it's easy. It is technically an easy combat system. I just have a religious objection to blocking. And so,
oh yeah. That's my problem with all of these Like the Witcher and Bloodborne and all those things that like require you to block to like do well. I'm like I just kind of forget that a block exists. And then
I do a lot of dodging just because I like Geralt doing like the little block shuffle as he as he like backs up. But then like all the creatures just swipe forward anyway, so there's really not much reason to back up.
Yeah, I mean, I took out some dudes. That's pretty much all you do in the tutorial is take out some dudes, bandits or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were incredibly easy. I'm assuming there's harder, human opponents later. But so far it was fairly easy to just like slash some guys. So Daniel, you've played slightly more than me, but slightly less than Steven. What are your impressions so far?
I mean, the combat, like you guys said, is a little simplified. Although I'm sure the further you get into it, the more difficult the enemies are going to get. Where you actually have to use the magic abilities that you have, and also the potions.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a feeling, in the beginning, obviously, you have to kind of like slowly and gradually get into the game. But I think as you progress, I would hope that there's a little more strategy behind it.
I will say they really introduce you to all the spells like all of them in a row, and I don't remember what all of them do or the usefulness of all of them because it's just like this spell does this, try it out. This spell does this, try it out. This spell does this. It doesn't really like introduce them contextually.
There are 4 or 5 spells, and each one can be upgraded to do different things, but more or less you just light everything on fire and just call it a day.
Why would you do anything different? I can control that guy's mind, or
the mind control. The mind control power is worth upgrading because you could use it in conversations. And I have no idea why they didn't program it in so that you could use it on shopkeepers to say you want to lower your prices.
Give me everything for free. Although it doesn't matter because today that news came out about the money exploit, which I'm sure they're going to fix. But quick, kill a bunch of cows and
kill all the cows.
Get all the money you could ever need while you still can. I do think like this is a game. I've talked before on the podcast. I think about how I don't know if I'm like ashamed of gaming or what, but like I usually play games when like my wife's in bed because I just feel guilty like taking at the TV,
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But this in particular, because of all of the sexy times content, feels like especially like I feel like I'm gonna be playing it and suddenly it's gonna be like ass, and I'm like, oh, I forgot.
It starts off with ass.
It does. It's like immediately. Like
welcome to Witcher, ass.
You see like you see his legs in like a like comedy reveal, like, oh, those are lady legs. No, they're not. They're the Witcher's legs.
I have to say though, Geralt's legs are spectacularly well shaven. And
considering the rest of his body is not,
considering that he has to wear those medieval boots everywhere, he's got perfectly manicured feet.
He's a bear from the waist up and a cub from the waist down.
You're telling me no one's ever like sliced him downward? No, everyone goes for the chest and the head. No one hits a kneecap.
Compare it, like considering where he's been, he should have like jungle rot on his feet and everything.
Yeah, it should be disgusting. He's got an amazing. He gets amazing pedicures.
Yeah, how does he have all his toes?
That's like a 5th spell that they don't actually go into. But yeah, like I was saying, like one of the first things you see in the game is just like, well, it's Yennefer, right? Like there's Yennefer, like bam, and I feel like that's just gonna keep being a thing in the game that I'll be like slightly embarrassed about, because it is Conan had a pretty good bit about it. It is kind of like appealing to our baser instincts as men.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, other than that, what have you guys been up to? Have you been playing anything besides The Witcher?
I've been playing Destiny a lot since I'm doing the
House of Wolves. Tell us about House of Wolves.
House of Wolves. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew it was the Fallen, but I was a little confused because I thought the House of Wolves would have been a completely different, like animal. Aside from the Fallen, but it's pretty much the Fallen. And there was a special force that was defending the Queen, and they acted against the Queen, and they rose up and.
Oh man!
This is fascinating because you're describing the plot of Destiny. As if you understand it.
Yeah, I actually had to read to understand what was going on.
As somebody who played all of Destiny, I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of different aliens that you shoot. Like, I guess that's the plot. Like, that's what I got out of it.
You know what? We should really do a feature where we compare the plot of Destiny to the plot of Jupiter Ascending, and see which one is more incomprehensible and weird.
Like gameplay-wise, what does House of Wolves add?
5 story missions. Obviously, some new gear, some new weapons, some new one new strike, a new PVE section where that's kind of like it's an arena basically, and it's 5 different waves that you have to kill Fallen, kill the Hive, and pretty much all of them. And a new PvP thing called the Trials of Osiris that is starting this weekend. So I have to
Is
finish
that
that
going to
this
be
weekend.
like only for weekend events, or is it like ongoing after this weekend?
Good question. I thought it would have come out when the DLC came out, but just like everybody
Because
else,
that would make sense.
yeah. I really thought I was gonna have my review done this week, but then they had it locked up and then did it for the weekend. And in the past, they've had these kind of special events happen just on the weekend. So I'm hoping it'll be a continuation, but I have a feeling it's going to be just a weekend thing.
Let me ask this. You know from our personal talks how I have soured a bit on Destiny.
Hmm.
I still liked it. I liked it when I played it, but I was just like when I got to the end game and grinded a little bit, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I don't really need to play more of this.
Right.
You know? I've probably capped out probably in my mid 20s. I don't even remember what my level was, but probably somewhere in my mid 20s.
Mhm.
Like, is it even worth it? Would I just like? Is there no point to getting this until I get to a higher level?
Uh, yeah, I don't think
Is
so.
it really targeted towards the hardcore Destiny players? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like if even to start it, you have to be at least mid 20s. So you can't just start the game, finish the main campaign at
Hmm.
I think it was 20 was the soft cap, and then start House of Wolves. You have to get to I think at least like 24 or 26 is where you start
Oh,
off.
okay. I mean, they
Yeah.
have made revisions, right? That make getting like better light gear a little easier,
Yeah,
so you can kind of
definitely.
catch up easier.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every strike I do, and even in this, when I finish the House of Wolves DLC, the actual campaign, I started with one exotic chest armor. Now I have an exotic weapon and like legendary, pretty much all my gear is legendary just from doing the story itself. So it,
Oh,
it
okay.
really it really powers you up a little quicker.
Someday when I have time, I might dive back into Destiny. When they make it so that like you can do one quest and immediately you get to like level 40. Uh, I might try it again. Steven, have you been playing anything besides The Witcher?
I played Invisible Ink, which
Oh,
is
that's right. You're reviewing.
completely unlike The Witcher in every
Hmm.
way, shape, and form.
Now it's I remember seeing a little bit about it before release. It's turn-based.
It's a turn-based tactical strategy game with a high emphasis on stealth.
Yeah,
You
it's like isometric turn-based, and you're like sneaking around corners
you're
and such,
sneaking
right?
around corners,
Yeah.
sticking to trying to keep out of the eyes of the camera. Think of like the Watchdog stealth scenes in a good way and turn-based. And
Okay. I mean, I didn't play enough Watch Dogs. Give us a little more of a look at that, because Watch Dogs, I guess, did well enough that most people would know. But as somebody who didn't play that much Watch
well,
Dogs,
you
like, what does
you're
it
you're
typically come in?
you're basically the operator, the commander of a team of futuristic dystopian spies, and you're and you have to move them around so that the guards don't spot them, or if they do spot them, that you could take them out quickly. You don't have a lot of weapons, you don't have a lot of money, and the artificial intelligence that you're using is running on battery power. So every time you try to hack something, it uses up a little bit of power that you have to steal away whenever you can. So you can only hack so many devices at a time, and eventually things just get crazy difficult, out of control, because you're working against the clock too. They're tracking your movements, and every time you're spotted, every time you end your turn, the alarm level goes up, and if it gets too high, they start actively looking for you and calling in
So
reinforcements.
it's not the Metal Gear method. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
No.
Well, you alerted a guard. They look around for you for 2 minutes, and then they're like, all right, go back to your placebo.
Sometimes it's like that. It depends on
Must have
how
been the
you've
win.
been. It depends on how you've been spotted. If they spot you and you can jump into a hiding spot, then they'll be like, oh, where'd he go? And then they might just catch up with you and spot you again in the next turn. If there's nowhere for you to run, they just shoot you. So
Oh, okay. Like the Metal Gear, like Daniel joked. Well, the Metal Gear thing, it's like, oh, I guess it was just a raccoon I heard, and I guess that guy choked himself. Like, it's the only explanation.
what's this box doing here? Ah!
Back to my patrol.
Oh well, no need to investigate further. So I've played a little more Splatoon. I talked about it last week on the show, so I can't actually talk that much more about it. My review is coming next Wednesday. Yes, next Wednesday.
It looks very colorful.
It is incredibly colorful. It's actually kind of garish in its colorfulness, and like an intentional way. You know what I mean? Like it's meant to be. Especially the way that the paint colors clash. I don't know what algorithm they used, but the paint colors that you get are randomized on each side, and they always make sure that they clash in extreme amounts, so you can always very easily tell, which side is yours and which side is theirs. I will say, I can't go into detail because this isn't a review yet, but there are online oddities that I'm kind of going to be waiting to play the full version when it releases before we release our full-on review. So what I put out on Wednesday will probably be a review in progress, provisional review, something like that, to say here are my thoughts. I'm waiting to try out some more stuff in a live environment.
So is it more like a paintball game, or is it more like a water fight game?
Well, yes and no. Paintball, your goal. I mean, I've never played paintball, but paintball, your goal is to smack a guy and he gets the paintball on him and that represents a bullet. So it's okay, you're dead now. Your goal in this isn't really to hit each other. The way I explained it actually on a little guide thing that I worked up, and also I think I might have mentioned this on the show last week, but your goal in Splatoon isn't to kill each other. Your KD ratio doesn't really matter. It doesn't add to your points total. It doesn't do anything. The only reason to kill people in the opposing team is to get them out of your way so that you can continue painting the ground. So your weapons serve that dual purpose of they paint the ground and they also kill your opponents. But really, you can ignore your opponents completely and get a super high score if you're just going around and avoiding them carefully and painting a bunch. They're basically just obstacles to you painting, and also you want to keep them from painting your area, so you want to get rid of them that way. But I think that sort of introduces an interesting dynamic to it, where it's, of course, the Nintendo take on an online shooter is we're going to make it so that killing each other doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. But it sort of gives it this weird dual purpose kind of goal where your goal is independent of that, but killing them does help you in sort of an indirect way. You know what I mean? It keeps them from painting your area, it keeps them from taking out your guys, all that stuff. I will say that since there's only one spawn point, there has been spawn camping. There's only one spawn point per team, and a lot of the maps are laid out like the two spawns just go straight towards each other. So if one team pushes enough and just gets the other team locked down in their spawn, they're screwed. There's not really much you can do.
But how many people from the opposing team would be needed in order to just hold down that spawn point and then have the other team just paint the entire level?
Well, that's the thing. The teams are 4-on-4, but you don't really need 4 people to hold down a point. I've done it myself, on a couple occasions. You can do it yourself if you're experienced enough and you have a good enough weapon. You get better weapons as you level up, so the more experienced players can kind of clean up. But there's also specials that once you've painted enough ground, again, the KD doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people you've killed. But once you've painted enough ground, you charge up your special, and then you get this devastating attack. So I've been in a situation where I kind of kill some people at the spawn, paint some of the area around them to get my charge back, and then if somebody overwhelms me or finds a way around my sort of boxing them in, I just turn on my special and bam. And it's a very effective strategy. It's frustrating as hell if you're on the receiving end of it, but it's at the same time it's just that's the way the game is designed. So I'm kind of wondering if they've already committed to doing more modes and more maps and things like that. So I'm kind of wondering if multiple spawn points are eventually going to be a thing. Because right now they don't have multiple spawn points, but they do have snap to teammate options. So if your teammate is out somewhere in the field, you can just click the thing, snap to your teammate. You kind of make a jump to them. You make a giant squid jump to them, and you can shoot on your way down. And then you could go back and clean up your spawn point if people are camping there. But if you're all just stuck there, there's not a lot you can do. And that's the other thing. Like there's so much battle over the middle that if somebody sneaks around and just sort of paints near your area, aside from just like boxing you in, that's an area that you might not really be watching all that closely, and it counts towards their total instead of yours, when it should be like very easily counting towards your total. So there's a lot of like interesting little strategic wrinkles to it based on how they made this about painting ground.
You should be able to paint the other side of the map. Just like flip it over.
Flip the map, yeah.
And then flip it back.
They actually
nobody notices.
Do like a Mario Galaxy.
I don't know if this is covered anywhere in like the game manual or anything, but in like the like tips for game reviewers or whatever, one of the things was like painting the walls doesn't count. Like that doesn't count towards your coverage total. So,
that's weird.
Yeah, so like it's only the ground, and sometimes there's ramps and things, and I'm not sure what counts if a ramp counts as ground or wall. You know what I mean? Like at what point is the cutoff that it starts counting as wall? But basically, like painting the walls helps you because it lets you climb up them very quickly in your squid form. So there's like strategic trade-offs. There's a reason to do it. It just doesn't count towards your points. So yeah,
that's weird. I would think anything and everything, as long as it has my color, even like
you would think. And there's some stuff that you just can't paint. Like there's areas that are like covered with like what looks like a plastic tarp or like a glass thing that like just paint doesn't stick to it. So there's no point firing at it. So and that also means that you can't do your squid form swim through it real quickly and stealthily thing. So they use that to great effect sometimes, where they want points where you kind of have to confront each other. You know. But yeah, it's an interesting game. It's got a lot of weird wrinkles to it.
They should just do like what they do with Halo 5 and just launch players onto the stadium.
Yeah, like the ODST soldiers. Just launch them from orbit. Yeah. So let's move on into our chatty suggested topics for this week. Our first one here from Himtroll. As I mentioned, all of the topics this week are a little more wordy than usual, but I think it's a good question. Himtroll says, open world games continue to be hot shit, but every time I play one I find myself disappointed by the static world. You can kill 300 cops in GTA and respawn to a fresh world completely unaffected by everything you just did. Skyrim has essential NPCs which stop you from breaking the main quest, and even the original mercenaries would respawn buildings after you dropped an artillery barrage in downtown Pyongyang? I'm gonna go with that. Why do you think this is, and can you suggest some game where the world actually responds to player actions in a meaningful way?
So wait, so is he saying that after you bomb a city, everyone should just stay dead and effectively?
Yeah, you should be able to commit genocide in this game. Come on.
A black no man's land on the map is totally your fault.
Just a crater.
It's like New Vegas all over again.
I mean, if you do that in Fallout 3, you leave a giant crater.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was about to say. Like he mentioned Skyrim, and I think that those games from Bethesda get the closest to this. Like he said, there's NPCs that keep you from breaking the main quest, but most of it you can actually do whatever you want. You know, they have certain things in place that's like, okay, we don't want you to hit what would basically be regarded as a bug, where if you kill this NPC, you can't finish the game. You know, but like the ability to like, you know, leave a smoking crater in Fallout 3, or you know, basically kill almost anyone you want in Skyrim. You'll become a wanted man, or lizard in my case, but. But still, you can like basically do whatever you want. I think those are the games that get the closest, and I think that's also probably why people are kind of hyped for Fallout 4. You know, everyone wants to see, you know, what's the next level of Bethesda type freedom that you have in a game. You know.
Well, there are options in Wasteland 2 where you don't have to follow the script, the quote unquote script. You can more or less do whatever you want, and the characters do react. Like, if you're supposed to be a desert ranger enforcing whatever laws exist in a post-apocalyptic world, and but you're a new recruit, and you can decide that, you know, law-abiding really isn't my thing, and you could start exploiting everybody. But then, like, when the Ranger Command starts getting word that you've gone rogue, they'll start sending people to come after you, and eventually, one possible ending is that you just betray everybody that you work for go back
See,
to.
it sounds like that's worked into the narrative, though. Like, if they've made an ending for it, they thought ahead and thought, okay, people might do this.
There's an ending for betraying the Ranger Command and busting into their fortress, killing everybody, and detonating the nuke that they have inside.
See, I think, you know, the ideal would be if there was like a toggle, right? Like if there was, I mean, first of all, the ideal would be if there was a way to interact with the world other than killing people. But aside from that discussion, the ideal would be like if in Fallout 4, if there was a toggle that was like, you know, kill whoever I want, and it just gives you a little warning dialog box that's like, hey, this might break the game. If you turn this on and you kill the wrong person, you might not be able to finish. Just so you know, fair warning, are you sure? And then you click OK, and then you can do whatever, and it's a total sandbox. I don't think that's going to happen.
Is that what Just Cause 3 and 4 is going to be?
Just Cause 3?
Just Cause 3? Is that what it's going to be?
Did they do that?
Well,
I mean,
Just Cause 2, you could pretty much.
Remember much about the
Just
open
Cause
world
2, you could do whatever you want. Saints Row, you could do whatever you want, but no one reacts.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the classic example. Like the examples he cited are like, well, you know, in Skyrim you have a lot of freedom, but you run into these barriers versus something like GTA or Saints Row, where there are no barriers, but the world just kind of resets and acts like nothing happened. You know, like you can slaughter like 50 people, and then it's like your punishment is like, well, I went to jail for a few days, and I lost $500.
I'm out of the hospital. No one remembered what happened yesterday with a tank going down the freeway.
And then you go on living your life. So it's like, is there any way that a game could? Because the real problem is that these games are telling stories, right? Like they're just not sandboxes.
Mm.
If you really want a game that is a complete sandbox that you can do whatever you want without consequence and live with the consequences, the game is called Minecraft. Like if you build a beautiful house and then you blow it up, your house is blown up now. You know, that's you just live with that. But these games that are trying to tell stories.
See this dog sculpture? I'm gonna blow it up. And I'm gonna take responsibility for destroying this dog sculpture.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, these games that are telling stories like GTA and Fallout and Skyrim, like those are all concessions to the storytelling, right? Like they can't just GTA can't make it so that like the story is you're this down on his luck criminal who then killed 100 people and went to jail for the rest of his life. Like
well,
they can't make that the story.
The story is that Liberty City or wherever the GTA game happens to be taking place are like the worst places on Earth. So
yeah. There's so much crime that they have to let you off with a slap on the wrist no matter what you do. Oh, you used a rocket launcher in a police car? Oh, well.
Just don't do it again.
Now.
It's like the old Irish cop, like, oh, don't let me catch you. Blowing up police cars in the future.
I think maybe the police are going with the philosophy that the criminals will just kind of take care of each other, and they'll just kill each other off. So the more they stay out of the way, the better.
Yeah, and I mean to respond to Himtroll's question, I think that open world and sandbox are two different things, and they're increasingly becoming two different things. And open world games really can't let you have that kind of freedom. Sandbox games can. So something like The Sims, or like I mentioned, Minecraft, like you just kind of play with stuff and make stuff and then tear stuff apart, and that's just how it works. And it doesn't really have a story to fuck up, so it's fine. Yeah, I think that's really the distinction.
Yeah, but I still stick to how Wasteland 2 probably has one of the more flexible storylines.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Wasteland 2, they just thought a lot of the different possibilities, right? Like, how many endings does it have?
I don't know. It has a lot of endings, and there are a lot of factions, too, and you can decide to join the factions, or you could decide to just kill everybody and say, get out of my way.
I mean, that's the other thing. Like, some games are like, oh, this game has, like, 5,000 endings, and it's like, okay, well, you have, like, 50 different lines of dialogue that you can mix and match, and if you do the math, that technically makes, like some amount of endings. But that's not really the same thing. Let's be honest. So our next question, this is from David Craddock, also a wordy one, my poor voice. Do you find that you're bothered by DLC in general, or can the presentation and/or content in DLC sway your way of thinking? He says, I'm perfectly fine with DLC content that feels substantial enough to remind me of the expansion packs of yesteryear. I don't mind paying $30 for new characters, quests, maps, items, and story content, but I have a beef with companies who reskin content and try to pass it off as something new. Even in cases when I'm excited or optimistic about DLC, like Batman Arkham Knight's plethora of prequels and missions, I don't like it when publishers shove DLC in my face months ahead of the base game's release, as is the case with Batman. So, like, to boil it down, where is your value judgment on DLC? Like, how do you decide whether DLC feels worth it? This is a very nebulous feeling kind of question.
I personally don't think of DLC. Whenever I'm buying a game, I'm buying the product that's being shown, and I'm hoping that's what I get. I don't. If almost every game's gonna have DLC, so I don't go, oh man, I can't wait for this DLC, so I'm gonna buy the game, and then hopefully the DLC is also great, because what if the base game stinks, and meanwhile I'm looking forward to playing as Batgirl? You know, it doesn't make, there's no reason for it.
Yeah. I mean, Arkham Knight is a good example because this is one of those this is how game development works kinds of things. Like, I'm sure that the actual game Arkham Knight is done, and has been for, if not months, then at least weeks. And there's always the we have a second production team working on this DLC. They're reusing some assets. They're basically the job of the DLC offshoot of the studio is to make more money for the studio because games are really expensive, yo. It's sort of like that. People get outraged, like, "Oh, we're hearing about DLC before release." It's like, well, what? Of course they're working on it. Like,
yeah.
Would you rather they just lie to you?
Yeah, but nowadays, if you have a AAA game, you're gonna have DLC, 100%.
Yeah, and I mean,
you tell me Halo 5 is gonna have DLC?
It's part of the budget. It's part of recouping the cost of making the game.
Yeah.
I like how this topic kind of flips the conversation, because it used to be that we used to complain about how we didn't know what DLC was coming up, and buying a season pass was
season passes were just like these
gambling
blind purchases. Yeah,
essentially gambling and hoping that you get good content out of it. And now they're telling you exactly what you're going to get. I don't think that the Mortal Kombat pack should have been as secretive as they were, considering what was in it. But
it was weird that Batman was secretive, because they were like, we're releasing a ton of DLC and that's it. And then it was a week or two later that they were that they started to detail, okay, there's Batgirl, there's this, there's that. But it was extremely vague at first, and it was just trust us, it's Rocksteady kind of feel.
And I'm still not even sure if the Legendary Edition and those really expensive ones even have a season pass included with them.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that every time. Like when a company does not specify if the special editions come with a season pass, which of course they should.
If I buy a product and there's literally a statue that I could put in my office, and I get a brand new car
locked inside.
Yeah. There's been even weirder. I don't remember what game it was. So bear with me, but there's been weirder instances of companies releasing the whatever special edition for $100, and it's just the stuff. It's not the game.
Oh,
they don't include the game. They include the stuff, the extra stuff. So you have to buy the game and that.
Yeah, there was a game that released recently. Oh man,
was it Wolfenstein? I don't remember what it was.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay, yeah, that was super weird.
Yeah. That was so strange.
And I guess if you really like Wolfenstein and you want some tchotchkes, then go for it. But it was one of those things where when we were reading the press release, I was like, wait, does the game come with it?
But then on the other side of the spectrum, we have places like games like Dying Light that have I think there was one that was the Shack version, where literally you get a built shack from some company, and you have to pay money for the game, and then like I said, a torn down shack that you can have in your backyard.
Yay!
Yeah, I don't know why you would want that. And then there was Saints, and then Saints Row. Didn't they have the $1 million whatever version?
The president of the millennium, the years of game of the millennia.
Have that as a fun PR stunt. Obviously,
But you get a
crazy person is buying it.
You get a dubstep gun, people.
Yeah, a working functional dubstep gun.
That you can use in your jet airplane that you just bought.
I think the weirdest one was when you could get. It was one of the Call of Duty games. I think it might have been Black Ops 2, where it had like a working model cargo plane.
Yeah.
Oh, and it flew?
Yeah.
They're releasing flying things for a few years there, I think.
It was like a drone.
Yeah. I think it could actually fly, and it was way better than the cheap ass infrared goggles that they were giving away. Wow.
I mean, like to answer his question, I'm not really bothered by DLC in the first place. It's just one of those things that I think being in the press, maybe we're a little more permissive of this than the average gamer. But it's one of those things that I just think of as, this is part of the business. This is how they're recouping the cost of the game. If I don't want to play it, then I won't buy it. I don't care. Like
I think the thing
I'll wait for the Game of the Year edition where it's all in there.
The thing that's overlooked is that it's all optional. I mean, and we are living in the age of major Steam sales. So if you
and if you don't feel like the base game, if you feel like you're being ripped off, if you don't feel like the base game is worth your money, and the DLC is the thing that makes it worth your money, then don't buy. Like, that's the best way you can tell them that you don't approve of that, is you don't buy it. You're not obligated to buy these things. I will say it's
hope they release the DLC by itself.
Yeah, exactly. I will say it's good to see. Even though I don't mind it personally on a personal level, it's good to see companies that sort of take proactive steps, knowing that gamers sort of have this visceral reaction to DLC. There are some companies that have taken like very proactive steps to be like, we want to do DLC right, and here's how. Like The Witcher, which we talked about earlier, is a good example. There was some controversy over their statements because their initial statement kind of made it sound as if they were never going to release paid DLC. But if you parse their words in an accurate way, if you kind of look closely at them, they're basically saying like, if we're going to release paid DLC, we want to make it like big and worth it.
I still haven't figured out how to activate the free beer DLC for Witcher 3.
But they're releasing tons of DLC for Witcher. Like their plan is, we're gonna be like continuing to pump out new things, and the same thing with Splatoon, like both games that we talked about earlier. Nintendo is like, okay, this is a multiplayer game. We have to do multiplayer games right. They're trying to do right by this new genre that they've never explored before. So they're like, we're just going to release new maps and weapons and modes for like months for free. It'll be, so to keep the game alive, which you kind of have to do when you're starting a new IP and everything. And even Capcom. Batman, which is paid DLC, it sounds like they're saying that the DLC for that is going to be like big story chunks. Like I'm picturing it like if Batman Arkham Knight is like a trade paperback collection of a set of comics, it's like those would be like single issues, and I'm fine with that. Like that's a cool idea to have it sort of tie into the origin that way.
Capcom definitely they did something with that with the Monster Hunter 4. I mean, every month.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how long. Every month's going to be free DLC, and I have yet to see anything from them saying that they're going to charge for DLC. They've all just been saying free for them.
And it's all been like it's supposed to be like fun equipment that's modeled after Nintendo characters.
Number of months.
Yeah. It's been like equipment modeled after Nintendo characters and stuff, right? Like get your Samus armor or whatever,
They also have missions though and quests that you could do.
Oh wow.
Yeah. When you actually read the fine print, the big sell is like, you get a Metroid costume and whatever else, but then there are also at least like 5 or 6 new missions every month.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's not really Nintendo. That's Capcom sort of working on behalf of Nintendo, I guess in partnership to use some of their IP. But I feel like if any company is consistently doing DLC right, I know this is going to make me sound like a fanboy, but I kind of am. If any company is consistently doing DLC right, I feel like it's Nintendo. Because Splatoon, they're like doing it for free. Mario Kart was paid, but it was like not that expensive.
Yeah.
It wasn't that expensive for how many tracks was it? It was like 2 new circuits in each pack. So that altogether, that's basically like 150% the size of the game, and it was like $12. Like that's a good value, and they were really good tracks too. They didn't seem half-assed. So, I think Nintendo was very reluctant to get into the whole DLC thing because they were like, okay, people have this perception that it's ripping people off, and we don't want our brand to become associated with that. But once they finally started doing it, it actually seemed really cool. With some exceptions, like I think their first experiment with it was in New Super Mario Brothers 2, the gold one, where they were like selling like gold something. I don't know. It seemed dumb.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but their early experiments were a little more wobbly.
They were selling gold teeth that you could put on your shelf.
They've also been getting into more free to play games, which I think is interesting considering their mobile push. But that's veering far afield of the topic. So it sounds like our general consensus is we don't really mind DLC that much, and buy it if you want it. So our final topic here. This is also from him, Troll. He's double dipping, but he came up with good suggestions. So whatever. He says, I play a lot of strategy games, but I always end up picking Sweden when there's a playable faction. He's Swedish. And when
I was going to say, why would he?
Yeah, I always pick Sweden. What? No, I'm from Norway. And when I play FIFA or Football Manager, I inevitably pick up my local team even if they suck. Are there any games that you play in certain ways because you have some personal connection to it? Always picking America in games doesn't count. That's too easy. What game do you pick America?
XCOM.
Maybe FIFA. Oh yeah, XCOM because you would. But America didn't have that good of a bonus, I don't think.
No, it gave you a discount on aircraft.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right, I guess.
And a discount on repairing.
I think I went with China or something. I don't remember. Anyway, speaking personally, when I play an RPG, just about anything that has like a character creator, and this has been going on for like years. I've been like making it a female most of the time because I find the male models kind of boring. But usually I make it a female, and I name it after the name that we ended up using for my daughter because I just like that name. So I just kind of had this like persistent line of like this lady character that was sort of like seeing her way through multiple RPGs and other games with character creation things.
I kind of did the same thing. When I first started with World of Warcraft, I had a female night elf, and I named her La Luna. And then pretty much every game that I do that's an RPG, it's a female, different origins, but it's always La Luna and a female whenever I do an RPG.
Yeah. The exception is when like the female model is like boobalicious, and I'm like, okay, I don't want that associated.
That's not my character.
That's super weird. No thanks. I'm good.
Does choosing a leader in Civilization count as choosing a nation?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, like, what nation do you tend to choose in Civilization?
I choose according to leader bonuses, but usually I choose. I usually choose the Chinese factions first because they're the ones that have a tighter reign on their citizens, and they don't like rebel as often.
You prefer iron fists.
So they're oppressive.
Yeah. And then the Russians are really good too with the industry. So I'm always split between those.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, just creative characters are usually my thing. I don't play a lot of games where you choose a nation. I guess when I play a sports game, even though I'm not a huge sports ball guy, like I follow football casually and I watch baseball if it's an interesting big game in some way.
If there are no people in the audience.
Yeah, like for example, if the stadium is entirely empty, I might watch a game. But yeah, like I'll choose like the home team just because I'm like, sure, I'll choose the Orioles. Like I'm not a huge Orioles fan. I'm okay with them. I bear no ill will towards the Orioles. but I'm like, sure, I'll play as the Orioles, I guess, because they're the local team. That sort of thing.
When I do play games with a nation option, I look for. I mean, I'm American, but my parents are Cuban, so I look for Cuba, and there are a lot of games without Cuba as a selection for some reason. So then I go America or Japan.
Does Civ have Cuba?
How are you gonna?
You would think Civ would.
What benefit would Cuba have as one of the most embargoed nations in the world?
Cigars?
Excellent cigars.
Excellent cigars. Plus
Yeah.
one to
Cigar smuggling a perk. Yeah.
+1 to industry, but you get a -10 default for the embargo.
And Castro was a really good baseball player too, so you could have a little something.
Oh yeah, I can export baseball players too.
There you go. +5 for swimming would be a good one too. We're great swimmers.
The icon with that would be like swimming alongside dolphins.
Daniel gets to make those kinds of jokes.
Yes, I can say that.
I can't say that. I'm the whitest white guy.
I forgot what game we were playing once. I think it was either it might have been Civ or a Civ-like game, and we were going to end the turn. I was going to end the turn based on I didn't have enough armies to invade, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna build up my forces and then I'll go in to invade Turkey. And my friend next to me is Greek, and there was some sort of political animosity between Greeks and Turkey. So he just like walked up, he just like got in really close to me, and he's just like, nuke 'em. And I was just like, all right, okay, but I'll do it.
Well, very violent people. So I think that's going to close out the show. Let's talk a little bit about what we are up to planning over the weekend. This is a long weekend actually because it's Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day, American listeners, which is probably most of our listeners. So what are we planning for the long weekend? Daniel, let's start with you.
Well, I still have to finish up the House of Wolves DLC. I'm hoping I could bounce between that and The Witcher 3. Magicka 2, I'm hoping to get a couple of games in with Steven and the rest of the team. We got a couple codes a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah, reviews for that are coming next week, right?
Next week. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So hopefully I'll be playing that. And then outside of gaming, Monday's supposed to rain in our area, so it'd be kind of tough to do a barbecue, but I'm hoping I can get some hot dogs or something in me this weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Steven, how are you celebrating Memorial Day weekend at the Wong household?
Probably Magicka.
The traditional Memorial Day magic.
Can't go wrong with it. Of it, like, how do we remember? We play Magicka and shoot our friends with laser beams.
Who are not vampires.
Who may or may not be vampires. Yeah, Magicka is a good way to go. My family is visiting from out of town, and they have their baby with them that I have not yet met. So I'll be meeting a new baby. And going to my son like, hey, look, someone new for you to bully someday.
Yeah, this is what another baby looks like. Because at that age, like, they assume that they're the only thing that small, and there are no other babies. I'm the baby of the world.
I like it when he's in his stroller and we're walking through the mall and he just points to other kids and goes, "That's a baby. That's a baby."
Yes. All right. So I'm probably going to see Mad Max tonight. But other than that, just kind of sitting around. We I think are probably going to get together with friends for a barbecue of some sort on Sunday. But sort of diving into The Witcher, hopefully. And I kind of want to finish Borderlands. I kind of wanted to finish it before The Witcher came out, but that didn't happen. And yeah.
Play both at the same time.
Yeah, like what, a controller in each hand?
Controller in each hand. Use your feet.
I'm so close to the end, and Borderlands is one of those games that like I kind of wish they would remix the campaign stages in some way, like have some random element to the campaign stages to give you some encouragement to go through and start new characters, because I'd like to try out the different characters, but I'm like, I don't really want to go through this campaign.
You're the random element.
Like, I don't really want to like play the exact same tutorial over.
You're playing the first Borderlands, or?
No, I'm playing the pre-sequel. I got the Handsome Collection, and it's the only one that I hadn't played yet. So.
Okay.
Unless you can round up some friends, I don't recommend trying to beat it solo. Unless you can, you can completely over level yourself. or you can round up a whole bunch of friends. I don't recommend
Thanks,
jumping in.
thanks for giving me a good warning that it's a huge pain in the ass. That's cool. That's good to know.
Now you spend countless hours in the game. Don't finish it.
I mean, the other Borderlands bosses were kind of pain in the ass too to do solo. I don't know. But you got to get that sweet, sweet vault.
That's full of tentacles and disappointment.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you know what's in there.
The nice thing is though that for the pre-sequel, for the Handsome Collection, if you have registered with their whatever it's called, their online thing, for previous games, they detect that and they're like, here's just 100 golden keys. Go nuts.
Yay!
You know?
Wow.
So, so I spent I think like 15 of them just on like stuff as I've been leveling just to get some good gear. But I've been saving it mostly for like once I hit the level cap, I'm just gonna like get like 75 things, and keep the really good ones and sell the rest. You know. So hopefully that'll help me finish the boss. So yeah, that's my plans, and that is the Chattycast. As always, you can watch us live. Remember that every Friday at 2 o'clock or around 2 o'clock.
Round. Give or take.
Possibly a little after
2-ish.
2 o'clock.
Hawaii Standard Time.
We made a 10-minute gain from last week, so next week, in theory, we'll start at 2:10, and then we'll start at 2 o'clock. So yeah, around 2 o'clock-ish, probably closer to 2 now that we've worked out some of the kinks, hopefully. And review us on iTunes. If you like us, if you don't like us, don't review us. We don't want to hear from you.
Just leave us alone.
That's the show. So
If you don't like us, why do you keep downloading our show?
Yeah,
every
why do you
week?
keep downloading and listening to this? What's wrong with you? Don't you have something better to do?
New
Anyway.
podcast. I hate today.
Oh,
Can't believe another one.
it works the blood up.
Missing my weekly dose of haterade.
Hate that Steve Watts so much. All right. So that's the show for Daniel Perez, Stephen Wong. I am Steve Watts, and we will see you on Chatty.